All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. And should we get started? Oh, all right. So, I am Shekhar Khatri, and I am currently a full-time IT professional working in the domain of project management. And today, my topic is about Agile metrics and suggest burndowns and beyond. So, first off, let's get started with metrics. So metrics is some sort of measurement, and we have it on our daily life every day. So whether you are at school, your progress is measured through grades, and when you are at work or organizations, there are some sort of KPIs. So I think most of us are already familiar what metrics is about and different kinds of measurement that we use in our daily life, right? So why is metrics important? Whoa. I think it's gone. All right. So, okay, I think, will it take time? All right, let's get back again. All right, so we were on the next slide. Why do we need metrics? So we have been using metrics for defining a clear direction, right? So whether we are trying to achieve some objectives or goals, we need to define some sort of measurement on how we are progressing on a specific goal or an objective. Okay, so and the metrics also helps us to identify several areas of improvement. There is one quote that I want to iterate: if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve. The metrics are the tools that help us in moving in the right direction. So first, from the product management or somewhere in the ID industry, right? And we know about Agile and several different metrics that has been using in our projects, right? So I just like to quickly go through them. It's sprint burn down, velocity, cycle time, lead time, and throughput. Whether it's Scrum or Kanban, I think most of us have heard or probably used these metrics in our projects, right? Yeah. Okay, so I want to quickly go over the first two metrics, sprint burndown and the velocity charts. And it's going to be, all right, so the velocity chart. Velocity chart shows the average amount of work uh, within a Scrum team, average amount of work that has been completed Scrum team over several sprints. So sprints is basically a time box. Uh, Usually teams 2 weeks or 1 week or a month as the time box or as a sprint. And we have the sprint burn down. And sprint burn down is a visual comparison of how much work is remaining and how much work we have completed, right? So I think these are the common metrics or charts that we use in our project, right? So these metrics give us where we stand within a sprint. We define a specific goal or an objective for a sprint, and these two metrics help us to identify where we are, help us make adjustments or adapt based on uh, the graphics or the points that we are on, right? So I have a question. We are on track, but are we generating value? So we use the two charts. Can any of us tell whether we are generating value? Anyone? It can be value to the business, value to the customer, and more specifically, it's the value to the end users. Uh-huh. Okay. So, yes, some sort of, yes, we are generating value, right? We are actually getting the work done, right? The velocity chart, a team is covering 70 to 80 story points every sprint. So, and the sprint down is fine. That means we should be generating value, right? But let's get back to the next question. Are we just meeting goals, right? We know we are completing tasks, isn't it? So we are covering so much story points and we are just trying to push our velocity. So that means we are completing the goals, but we are right on track, but still there is a question. Are we generating value for the customers? Okay, so at times when we are looking at the charts, then we tend to use a specific metric as a goal. For example, uh, let's take the velocity, right? So we have been consistently taking around 70 or 80 story points every week or every sprint, right? So what our team tries to do is we try to race against the velocity chart, right? We try to cover more than 80 story points, but on that way, we forget that are we working on the right thing? So by value. Value means are we helping the customers achieve what they are in the platform for? So the business revenue, those users, right? So that's the value I'm talking about. Looking at the sprint burn down and the velocity chart, what it gives us is the amount of work we have completed and the amount of work that's remaining and how much time it takes to complete those product backlog items. But it does not really tell us that we're actually generating revenue or profitability or we are actually helping the users achieve their goals, right? So there is also another question is, are we building a feature factory? Right? Recently, features and we are good on timeline, we are good on budget, we are good on track, we are on track, but there are no ways where sprint burn down or the velocity chart tell us that we are not building a feature factory. The things that we are building is actually helping the end users done. Right? So how can we measure value? I think most of us are aligned with the value I'm referring to, right? So can anyone have a quick guess on how we can measure value? Value in terms of customer or business profitability. So basically, business profitability comes in when customers like the product and when they are able to use it for their means and get complete their goals, right? So that's when business will uh, increase the profit or revenue, right? So how can we measure value and how can our teams can measure that we are on the right track? All right, so moving on, we have something called the North Star metric, right? It has been quite popular at recent times on most of the startups, and almost all of the startups do have some sort of North. There are two types of metrics. That's one we call it vanity metrics, and one is the actionable metrics. right? So North Star metric is the actionable metric that helps us understand whether we are actually transferring value to the customers or not. So it is a powerful tool that brings clarity, purpose, and customer centricity to the work we have been doing, right? Tool with velocity charts, sprint burn down, cycle time, and we know that we are getting better, our process is improving, or we are delivering things. But North Star metric helps us to understand whether the work we are doing is actually providing value to the customers, right? So I've put in a few examples. There are Airbnb, Hotspot, and Quora, right? So Airbnb uses nights booked as their North Star metric. So I think most of us know what Airbnb does, right? Anyone who does not know what Airbnb does? I guess not. So basically they have chosen the number of nights booked as their North Star metric. All right? So what happens is any customer that books uh, homestay or the services Airbnb is providing, that's their most fundamental. And similarly for HubSpot, it's weekly active teams, right? So HubSpot is focusing, corporate or business teams and managing the deals, or it works as a CRM. So the number of weekly active teams are their vital metrics. And Quora, okay. So here we have questions answered. So they have taken the number of questions answered as their vital. So why this metric? Why it's nights booked or weekly active teams or the number of questions answered? Can you tell? Okay. So usually the North Star metric is actually tailored to a specific organization or a business, right? So they derive metrics. They define Star metric based on the core value their product is delivering, right? So for Airbnb, it's about how many customer books a good place to stay for a night or for a longer time. And for HubSpot, how many business customers or business teams are actively using their product to manage their deals or manage their customers and things like that. So a North Star metric should be something that can actually quantify the core of the business value that you provide to the customers, the core uh, the core service that your product provides to a customer. All right. So what we have is next, why the North Star metric, right? So we have been using a lot of metric like the velocity and the sprint burn down and things like that, right? So why do we need to introduce a different metric, North Star metric, into our workflows or let our teams know about these metrics, right? That should be, I think, an important question. And the reason for it is because while we are focused on delivering work, we often tend to forget whether what the outcome of all the effort that we have put into, right? So North Star metric helps us and our teams to become outcome oriented, right? So the metrics that we have been using, velocity chart and sprint burn down or cycle time, they are mostly focused on the output. But with the changing landscape of the business and the customers are looking for more value from use, adapt to outcome metrics that can help us understand whether we are actually generating value to the customers or not. And when the customer is able to use our product, there is an increase in revenue of our product, right? So I think we should start focusing on more on the features that improve usability and solving the problems of the customer, and including the output-related metrics or the process-related metrics into our workflow that would help us align our teams in a more efficient and in a more profitable way, right? So if we are just only output focused, or we just look into our process metrics, whether we are burning all the story points or not, and whether we are solving, completing all the tasks or not, this outcome-oriented mindset helps us, our teams, to think in terms of business, right? So they help in some sort of way. They also motivate our team members because they are aligning strategic objectives and goals. Work is actually impacting the end users, right? So when our work is aligned with a specific vision, right, then I think the work also tends to be more interesting, and people are more engaged into do something helping make world a better place, right? So I think it's a combination of both. For us, the process-related metrics are very important. It helps to processes identify gaps. And on the other hand, we should also include the outcome-related metrics or actionable metrics, which we call the North Star metric, so that we can align our teams, right? So maybe there is a question. I have not kept it in the slides, but there might be a question on how can we gather those data, or how can we use the North Star metric, right? So the first step is to define. Define what is the core value that your product is delivering, right? So then when you know the core value that your product is delivering, then you know data to collect. Then the next step is collecting data, right? So there are plenty of tools at the moment. I am not sure if everyone has heard about Mixpanel and Full Story. Have you guys heard about it? Yes. So Mixpanel and Full Story are analytical tools that helps us gather of a user. And they have different sorts of, within the tool there are different configurations that you can make so that actually data related to your North Star metric, right? So for example, you have a product and then you want to check how much customer, how many people reaches your sign up page and does not actually register into your platform, right? That's one of the use cases of that tool, right? I think that's all for my talk. And it's my small effort to introduce outcome-oriented mindset into our teams and help people think in terms of profitability and doing something that actually makes an impact. Thank you very much. All right, any questions?